Hi, everybody. I am so glad to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're having an awesome day. There's been, we were just talking, such an awesome lineup of sessions up until this point. So I hope you're all enjoying, connecting, and having a great time. I am Emily Kirby, and I am a senior product manager on the quality and customer obsession team within Teams Engineering. And I'll tell you a little bit about our team, who we are, and what we do. As far as an agenda, to quickly go through it, what I'm going to be talking about today is teams and community and what that means when we're building the product, how we take your feedback, what we're listening for, and what we do with all of that feedback that you're giving to us, some of the fan favorite features, and how the community has helped shape those features, especially after the past couple of years, and then some suggestions and ways that you can make an impact. So I want to start this off by introducing our team and all these smiling faces for anyone who hasn't heard of or engaged with or worked with our team before. We're called the Quality and Customer Obsession Team, and I love that that's our team name. Just customer obsession. It really is what we are, or who we are, and what we do. Our mission statement is we improve customer love by analyzing qualitative and quantitative signals to drive timely insights, customer engagement, and education. So I'll touch on all of these throughout the session today, but a quote that I like to think about when thinking about our team is when Satya joined as CEO, he said in his welcome email that the best work happens when you know that it's not just work, but something that will improve other people's lives. And I think now more than ever, that's something that resonates and fuels the work that we do every day. Not to state the obvious, but over the past couple of years, the world, and in particular to today's session, the way we work has really shifted. To quote Satya again, as I really like to do, in his opening keynote at Inspire last year in 2021, he said that hybrid represents the biggest change to the way we work since the adoption of the 9-to-5 workday. It will require a new operating model, which needs to be done with flexibility for where and when people work. And I think this is really important to think about and to mention again, that the way that we were building products 2 years ago is a lot different and needs to be as we're moving into this new way, or have moved and are continuing to evolve this new way of working. When we think about hybrid, there have been established patterns of work that we've relied on for years. Now, this quadrant, it has the date there, 1988. So these ways of working have always been around, but we never had to accommodate all of them at the same time. Typically, an organization would focus on one or two and ensure that their employees could have their desired outcomes for whichever way they chose to work. But now, when we're thinking about hybrid and accommodating different time zones and people working where they want to work, really bringing Microsoft 365 and Teams into that to ensure that the movement between these quadrants is seamless is what we're really aiming to do. And Teams, as we all know, is at the center of that. It's referred to, I'm sure today, digital fabric has been brought up, being the single tool that can connect meetings, calls, chats, enable you to collaborate, and have automation built on top to build efficiencies, increase your effectiveness, and have this available to you across all of your devices. So, as I've stated, some of the things that we all know and what brought us here today, continuing on that community. What is it? What does it mean? Well, all of you today, again, you're part of this community. But when I think of it, it's how do I leverage the community and all of the ideas to improve this product? We want to keep the people in mind who are using it and have them be involved in the process. In my day to day, I own the meetings experience. So all of the feedback that's coming in for the meetings product or meetings within the product. Um, and I represent all of our end users. I don't have any accounts that I represent or large enterprise engagements. And I take a lot of pride in this because I get to represent every end user, all 270 million, and think about how can I empower them to work better? How can I help them with their daily communications and enjoy the work they do and get it done better? So that's what it means to me. And when we think of people first, we want the deployments to be successful, adoption to go well and be successful. But really, where that starts is at the beginning. In some of the campaigns that I'm going to talk through, and that the processes that enable us to have a successful adoption and deployments when working with customers, it's how do we get people what they want and have it do what they expect it to do. So the way that we do that, there's this process that I say we rinse and repeat for every product improvement or feature release that we have. We listen, validate, communicate, and may have to listen, validate, depending. And I'll talk about some examples of this as we go through. But we have the feedback portal, which you may already be using, was previously user voice, the tech communities, round tables, and NDA programs, where we're really just trying to soak up all of that perspective and insights and suggestions that everybody has to influence the product development. Once we have something that can be tested in the lower rings, which I'll talk about our ring structure too, we want to get feedback. We want to make sure, are there any issues? Is it doing what we want it to do? What would we change? And then once we have something ready to go out to general availability to the public, it's ensuring folks know that it's here, where it is, and how to use it. And then starting the cycle over as we continue to improve the product. I mentioned I represent the end users, so really what I'm doing all day is listening. That listening is kind of the core of what we're doing in the QCO team, quality and customer obsession. And where that starts is in the very beginning of the release cycle. We have the ring structure. This may be very familiar with some of the folks here, but if not, we have this, if you want to visualize the flow of how a feature rolls out, it starts in Teams engineering, ring 0 and 1, goes out to our IT admins and the internal Microsoft Elite program. There's about 15,000 users in Elite. And then TAP, or private preview, and general Microsoft. Then the new public preview, which is ring 3.6 and is the new stepping stone between TAP and Microsoft, and then general availability. And then once it's out, it's GA, it's available to the public. The public preview program, I'm going to talk about for a few minutes here. This is new as of the beginning of 2021. It actually launched about December 2020. And before we had this, we had no smooth transition from TAP to ring 4. It went from 3 million to 270. And all of the lower ring programs that we had were really about finding issues and validating that the feature worked. What I love most about this public preview program is that this is we're not trying to find bugs. We expect that those have been found and addressed or have a plan to address them already. It's not about validating if the feature works. Of course, if it doesn't, we want to know that too. But really, what this program is for gaining insight, testing the feature, giving feedback, and letting us know what you think about it. The way it can be enabled is through the admin center. The tenant admin goes to update policies and can set the show preview features flag. And then at the end user level on their client, they just go toggle under their profile about and then show preview features. There's some links um, on where to find this later in the resources slide in the deck if needed. And the ask for folks who are in this program is to really engage. I mentioned this isn't to find bugs, but of course things do fall through the cracks. So there's a couple scenarios that I'll walk through here. The first is if the preview feature is announced, which our announcements are all through the MTC under the public preview forum, but you don't see it. This actually just happened to one of my features, the co-organizer feature. We rolled it out through public preview, and the first thing we heard was, we can't see it. I don't see it in the client. And this was through the comments on the tech community post. And while, of course, we don't want to have these issues happen, it was good for us to know that there is an issue with how the client code and the infrastructure code are managed with the public preview program. And in the past, just over a year that the preview program has been around, we haven't had a deployment of a feature that relied on the infrastructure service side as well to be in the public preview ring. So we weren't able to fix it for this feature, but it's something we're addressing for the future. So through the tech community post, we found that gap in our process. If you can use the feature, but you have found issues or bugs that we haven't listed in the limitations, with every feature that we roll out, we will put limitations or requirements or things that you need to make sure it does work as expected. But sometimes we do miss things. Bugs do get released as much as we try to avoid that. In the client help give feedback, I like to say use and abuse. It's so important to get that feedback. That's what we use to find emerging issues, track signals, track what build it is on. We're able to get some of that client information with give feedback. So if you have users in either your customers or organizations that are enabling this, make sure that it's well known to use that feature of give feedback to let us know if there are any issues found. The next is if the feature is out and you have other improvements that wish were there with that first release of the feature, let us know through that suggested feature. There will typically be listed future improvements that are coming with GA, general availability. But if there's something that's not listed there, let us know, and we'll work to get that prioritized or at least considered for future releases. All three of those options are end user initiated. So that's something where you are choosing to give us feedback. The one time when we will ask you directly for feedback is through the Net Promoter Score NPS survey. You may have seen, would you recommend Teams to others if asked? Or the new survey that we just rolled out in the NPS format, which is, would you recommend meetings to others if asked? And what that enables us to do is see the pain points, really, of what are hindering people from loving the product, recommending the product. And from our team, that's our main metric that we're tracking. And it's something that I'm focusing on every day. Where are the pain points? What do we have to do to help our users love the product? So that's a survey you'll see at max 4 times a year, but it's a great way to keep a pulse on the experience. One story about public preview was January 2021, so just over a year ago. We rolled out the PowerPoint Live presenter view. And this, if you remember, before the feature was how it is now, it used to be just everyone would see the same view of the slides, but the presenter could navigate through the deck. This was the first attempt at having the presenter be able to kind of manage similar to how we do in PowerPoint. And we rolled it out, and immediately through the MTC comments on the blog post or the announcement post, people were saying, "How do we turn this off?" You can see some of the comments I put here. It's not fun while teaching, and we came to learn that the slides, they were just too small, and people didn't want that. Now, you may say, why? Well, duh. Why? How did you let that go out? And while yes, it could have been caught earlier, it wasn't something that we heard through any of our validations or bug bashes, because we were just making sure that the feature worked. And in TAP, is it working as expected? So when I mentioned, in public preview, we really want to know if you like the feature. This is what I'm talking about. What we did was, quickly pivoted and said, hey, we need essentially a fail-safe way to get out of this view, and implemented a quick hotkey and announced that on the blog post and said, hey, we have a hotkey, but we're going to improve the UI for this as well. And folks were grateful. And I think it, for me, just kind of solidified how important this program is, because it was great we were able to fix this before going to GA, and I guess softening the blow, if you will, and being able to make those improvements sooner and get that feedback implemented before we have to wait for the release cycle. I'll take a quick break there if there are any questions in the chat. If not, we can dive into favorites. Here, I'll address some of these. How are we evaluating customers' feedback, and how do we select what to work on next? I will talk about that in the upcoming section. Are there plans to improve communication around public preview? Yeah, I'll speak to that now. So that is something that even internally we're struggling with. I can say that in general, we are trying to improve the roadmap announcement, one, date, and two, accuracy. You'll see if you go to the roadmap items, there is, this is your question, Peter, there is a new field that's public preview date and then GA date. So that's one step, but I'm open to share any feedback that folks have on how to make this process even better. We're, the program's a year old. We're super open to being flexible and ensuring you have the info you need. Cool. So diving into a few fan favorite features, I need like a shortcut word to say the word community, because I'm just going to keep saying it throughout the whole presentation. But throughout COVID, the community really helped shape our features. We went remote. I actually joined this team February 2020, and then a month later, and took over the meetings area. And then a month later, we went remote. And I can say it made my job a lot easier, because I was just being told what our users wanted. So I didn't have to search all that on my own. I guess it was louder than ever before. Now, the balance with all of these innovations and improvements was ensuring that the quality bar was met, while not only meeting, but attempting to exceed the needs of our customers. The first quick demo that I have we'll walk you through a scenario of how Teams Connect, an upcoming feature, will help organizations to potentially mitigate a supply chain disruption. So I'm going to roll a quick video. So just last week, we announced this feature will begin rolling out to public preview at the end of this month. So keep an eye out for this Teams Connect shared channel feature. Another feature that we heard feedback, oopsie, oh, I lost my my screenshot, sorry, that we heard feedback on loud and clear was the quoted reply feature. It rolled out on the mobile app about a year before desktop. And this, I mentioned our NPS, the Net Promoter Score survey. This was actually one of our top detractors. The fact that we didn't have quoted reply on desktop was really hurting the overall perception of the product. I talk a lot about how this improves the product, but we are limited to physics and resources and prioritization. So as much as we, not to make an excuse, but say this is the top issue, we need to fix this. There were competing priorities. But nonetheless, we got this out in September of last year, and hopefully folks are using this. The thing I love about it is if I bring someone into a new chat, you can give them context on what you're talking about by directing them up to a chat above. So sorry, my little screenshot's not in there, but hopefully it's something you're familiar with already. The next feature that I am particularly excited about is the Teams Meetings Co-Organizer feature. I mentioned this did not go through a successful public preview, but it will be coming out GA by the end of this month. Rollout is actually starting. And what this feature enables you to do is have another organizer have almost all of the same capabilities as the meeting organizer, including changing the meeting options, admitting people from the lobby, changing people's role from attendee to presenter, and ending the meeting. This was a huge ask, in particular for EDU, having assistant educators, assistant teachers have those capabilities as well. And this is one that you can see as far as the feedback portal. It is number one for meetings. So really thrilled this is finally coming out. There are some limitations with it, that said, but we balance having the feature go out with some limitations that does solve the problem for some, knowing that some of the key functionalities aren't yet there, but we're open for feedback again. And if you go to the announcement in the MTC for public preview, you can see some of those comments, and it helps fuel my conversations with the feature teams, the program managers, and the engineers who are working on it. So thank you. Yeah, I have a looking at the taking a break to look at the chat here. I'll be sharing the deck for that little video, so you can pull that from there. Um, Shared channels that will be coming through the public preview program. To answer your question, Ayana, it is something, if public preview is not enabled, it can be enabled through the admin center under upgrade or update policies. And then end users can choose to opt in to the program on their client on desktop and web. Um, so once they're enabled in public preview and the feature is out, it is coming soon. By the end of the month, you can check the roadmap for when that's released in public preview, and there'll be the announcement as well. They should start seeing it. Yes, that's actually, Frederic, your comment about co-organizer and breakout rooms. Um, we originally, so a good actually example of listening, we rolled it out originally without breakout rooms, and every comment was, yeah, this is great, but, which we expected. Um, and I really pushed, hey, we've got to get breakout room support out right now. It's expected. I think that's kind of table stakes for this feature. And so similar to the PowerPoint Live, that hotkey, there is a, I guess, temporary solution for that, which is outlined. I'll put the link to the co-organizer announcement, but there'll be a more polished solution coming as well. So it was left out, but not for long. Um, no, nothing needs to be done in Azure, but the feature is not out yet. And a update for the Q&A app, I don't have that answer now, but can follow up and share with you after. Thank you for all the great questions. Keep them coming. So let's dive in on how to make an impact through the community. I've talked about the feedback portal. This was user voice. And just a quick kudos to the community. This is by twofold the top feedback platform or product on the new feedback portal platform. It launched back in October, and our team migrated all of the items from the existing user voice, or all of the really big items over. And I'll say my area of meetings has the most ideas actually as well. So there's so much in there. And if I had a magic wand, I would just bippity bop through that list and get them all out. But I have restraints I work within. And the question about how does this influence prioritization, I bring the top 20 list to all of our reviews. We, in the quality and customer obsession team, every area has a lead similar to myself, and we are driving the conversation around all of the different feedback avenues that we have. What are the top feedback portal or user voice asks? What are the top NPS detractors, the low scores of the survey? And give feedback. What are people telling us about? So, and then in the lower rings, what are the top bugs? What are the top issues that haven't released yet? So we're going through all of these different signals, and sometimes a item down the list may be prioritized, just I don't want to say low-hanging fruit, but the equivalent of that. If something can fit into a quarter and there's enough funding for it, we'll try and pull a feature up. Some of the features, due to different team dependencies, the work might be done on the team side, but on the service side, there is a capacity constraint. So we do our best to keep the statuses updated and try to be transparent as to why something hasn't happened yet, because I know having no status it frustrates me even when I can't put something new, like, hey, we're still waiting. Um, but I'll say we're actively in here making sure this is as up to date as possible, and really trying to use this to drive the conversations and represent what um, what users are wanting, what you all want. That's a great question, Frederick. And so the question is, sometimes the same request is in several items and the votes are spread out. Can we connect the related items? Part of the reasons why I love this new portal and we moved from user voice was there's a lot better management on our end since it's all connected in it's built on Dynamics, so it's part of the Microsoft ecosystem. I'm able to go in and just merge items, update statuses, and I'm sure if you're in there, you see Alex Olson, my director, is the one actually posting those statuses. So I'm able to say, hey, Alex, these items are the same, or should we split these out? So we have a lot of options to manage and make sure that what we're speaking to in the status is actually what's being asked. Sometimes the sometimes the comments though aren't relevant. There's not always there's no way to move comments, but sometimes in the past we've gone in and commented and said, hey, go over here for this ask and upvote and share your ideas there to try and direct folks. There's just so many comments, it's hard to do all the time. But we are in there trying to merge as much as we can to keep folks directed on the same place, and so we're only updating and there's one source of truth. Take this next one from Peter. Yeah, the top 20 approach doesn't reflect the priority. You're 100% correct. I want to highlight that the feedback portal is one aspect of all the signals that I'm looking at, like performance. If I were to, so what I do is I have all of these signals: feedback, give feedback, tech community, net promoter score. I'm essentially collating all of these and then doing a different type of prioritization. So if I were to rank, I'd say performance is my number one. It's at the end of the day, if it's not performant, you know, I don't care if we release the coolest strobe light feature if it makes my team meeting experience stink. So trying, but also educators can't get their job done if they don't have co-organizer. So trying to bring all of these asks and improvements together is part of where we come in and try and make this a little clearer for the all up engineering group leaders to understand. And it's something that at the Jeff Teeper level, NPS is our guiding, as I mentioned, our guiding metric. So it's a balancing act, but it's something that we try to make as accurate as possible to reflect what, if we were to go down the list, where our users going to have the most benefit. Magnus, I will connect with you offline unless Michael's reply might have helped out. So reply back in there if you still have issues, but I'll circle back on it. The next place to engage that I want to share is the MTC. I've mentioned it a couple times, and I assume many of you are already in here. So more than anything, this is a kudos and a thank you. It is the #1 most active community in the MTC. And if you haven't been much in here, you can, there's Q&As, there's monthly what's new articles that are coming out of some of the teams internally. We have AMAs. We haven't had one in quite a while now, but that's the opportunity to kind of dig in on an article, or excuse me, on an area, and the team who owns that internally, we're on a call together, delegating out and answering those questions in real time, having all the experts in the room there. So it's a great way to get involved and connect with the community and with the folks on the team. And on that same note, the M365 Champions Program. This is an awesome community. If anyone hasn't been a part of this yet or hasn't heard of it, for learning about how to drive adoption in your organization and community. It has experts across all of our areas in M365. So that link, aka M365 Champions, come join, learn, and share with others. The latest community call was actually yesterday about hybrid work and the 5th Teams anniversary. So a couple of fun topics, and they do upload the recordings, so you can catch up on what was discussed at that call after the fact. Last but not least, I really just want to thank all of you. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without having the community to inform the decisions we make, have the feedback to help drive the decisions to improve the product. And to be honest, it's fun for me to be able to connect back. I can't wait to do something in person again. It's great to put faces to names and meet up and see old friends. So thank you for everything that you do. There wouldn't be a community without all of you. And the ask would be just continue to engage, keep us honest. Your feedback, the most critical feedback, we can take it, and I want to hear it. It challenges us to be better and grow. So just, again, kudos to all of you and thank you. Not to beat on the topic too much, but we value you. And just to put my third Satya quote in, you're the most important. So please continue to share with us and share your knowledge with others. And with that, as all of the sessions have had, please share your feedback. If there's other topics that you would have wanted to see, I can speak to them next time, and happy to engage offline. Connect with me on Twitter, shoot me an email, or LinkedIn. Thank you for having me, and I'm happy to discuss any of the topics. We have, I think, about 12 minutes for any Q&A, so